Hello, and welcome to the MAP Advanced webinar. This is the second half of the MAPS class. Our first webinar was the MAPS Basics, which covered the three need-to-know modules: Full Search Map tab, Search Results Screen Map tab, and Edit Search Map Search. The MAPS Advanced webinar will cover the four remaining nice-to-know modules, meaning that these are modules that you won't encounter on an everyday basis searching using geographical areas. And that includes the map overlays, using map search underneath the search menu, FlexMLS maps, and default map. So let's get started. So we're going to pick up with our maps overlay module. So what a map overlay is, in just quick terms, is it's a collection of saved neighborhood shapes that you can save in an overlay and reuse them over and over again. So if you find yourself searching in an area a lot, maybe it's a popular area and you're drawing the shapes, you find yourself drawing the shapes continuously, you can create and save that shape and reuse it so you don't have to keep inventing the wheel. So we'll get started. So I'll come over here. First, you need to log into FlexMLS. Then in your main menu tree, we'll click on Preferences. Once you click on Preferences, we'll click on My Map Overlays. Now, if you've never been in this screen before, instead of getting this pop-up menu, it'll be a welcome screen saying, "Welcome to My Map Overlays," and giving you a brief description on what it is. And then there's a Let's Begin button, and that'll take you to where we're about to go. So you can see here in my Map Overlays menu, I currently have 4 overlays saved. So these are overlays that I've created. So for example, in my Waukesha subdivisions, I have 11 neighborhood shapes saved within that overlay. So when you think of an overlay, think of like the transparency that they used to use on the overhead projectors. That's considered an overlay. And on that transparency, maybe you've got some areas drawn, maybe like 5 circles drawn that's going to cover some information. That would be kind of considered your neighborhood. So I'll demonstrate what this is. So I'm going to edit this one so you can see what I'm talking about. So in the Waukesha subdivisions overlay, I have 11 neighborhood shapes. And you can see over here on my right-hand side, each of these subdivisions are labeled with a name and a color. So that's the Brendan Way subdivision, the Grandview Square subdivision, Heritage Hills, Kisden Hill, Maple Lane Hills, and so on and so forth. And as I hover over each one, you notice on the map, they're highlighting, letting you know that's the one that you're hovering over. I'm going to zoom up a little bit here by clicking the minus sign, and just so you know, you navigate this map just like you would any other map in the system. So these are my subdivision areas. Okay, so whenever I want to search one of these subdivisions, I can go into Map Search and lay down this overlay and search for listings in any of these areas of any status. All right. So let's get started in creating an overlay. So to create an overlay, I'm going to come up here and click on Edit Another Overlay. That's going to bring my menu back. Okay, so now I'm going to click on the New button. Okay, so it's keeping me at my same map. If I were to come back in here, like say I come back over to my Map Overlays and then come back, it resets my map. This will be your default map. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an overlay called East Side Areas, and I'm going to create 2 neighborhood shapes within that East Side area so that I can use them over and over to search on. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down, and let's say the first area that I want to create will be the 3rd Ward area. So I'm going to zoom down on that area. And again, an easy way to look at these areas, if it's a neighborhood shape like I'm doing, and I did demonstrate this in the Map Basics overlay, you can come here to the Overlays button and use the FlexMLS overlays. And that one would have the neighborhood shapes, would be the neighborhood maponics. And that's showing me the historic 3rd Ward there, the one that I wanted. So if you want to use this and kind of trace over it, make it easy for yourself, you can. And that's what I'm going to do. So now I've got the area that I want in my view, and remember that's very important. Before you draw your shape, you need to navigate the map to show the area that you want to capture and that you can clearly see the borders of that area. All right. All right, so I'm going to come down here and single left click on my polygon. So it's got the little shading around it, letting it know it's selected. Then I'm going to move my mouse in one of the starting points here. Now I'm going to single left click my mouse button. I'm not touching my mouse button, I'm just sliding it out. I let my mouse button go, so when I'm ready to make a turn, I'm going to single left click again. That stops that original line and starts the new line. Single left click, single left click, 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 left click. I'm not going to go out into the water because I don't think there's any houses out there. So left click, and now I want to stop it, double left click. Okay, so now the shape has been created. Now I want to give this shape a label. So I'm going to single left click within my drawn shape that I want to label, so you get the polygon edit bubble. I'll click on edit, and this is where I can give this neighborhood a name. So I'll call it Historic 3rd Ward. If you would like to give it a color so you can distinguish it on the map, you can. So I'm going to choose red. If you decided that you needed to edit the shape, maybe you wanted to pull one of the sides a different direction, maybe out or in, that's what this edit shape link is for. So when I left click the edit shape link, you'll notice I get the little bubble handles around it, and this will allow me to resize it. What I'm doing is I'm simply holding down my left mouse button on the bubble, and I am dragging it while I'm holding the mouse button. This is just to demonstrate how you resize it. Okay? Once I'm done editing my shape, I'm going to click the Leave Edit Shape mode. Okay? So now you see here over on the right-hand side, the shape has been created and labeled. All right. I'm going to turn off the overlays here and deselect that. Now I'm going to choose another area. So I'm going to hover over a little bit here, zoom out, then I'm going to come here, I'm going to pull it north. Let's say I wanted to capture UWM area. That's around here. That's another area that I want to choose. So now that I can see the borders of the area that I want to capture, I'm going to come down here, left click on my polygon again, and this will be the only shape that you get in the screen. I'm going to move up to where I want to start, single left click, and then I want to turn the corner, so I'm going to stop that line by left clicking so I can begin my new line. Left click, left click, left click, and double left click. Okay, so my shape is stopped and it's created. Now I'm going to label it. So I'm going to move my mouse into the center, single left click, brings up the edit bubble, left click on edit, give it a name, UWM, give it a color, I'll choose purple there, and then close the little bubble with the X right here, and now you see the shape has been created there. Okay, so these are the only two shapes that I'm going to do for now, but you can always in the future come back and you can add to this overlay or subtract from the overlay. You can do whatever you like with it. So I'm now going to save the overlay by clicking on Save. Alright, so I get the Save Overlay box. I need to give this overlay a name. I'm going to call it East Side Milwaukee. And then I'll click Save. Alright, so now the save has been completed. If I click on Edit Another Overlay, you'll see there it is right there. That's the name of my overlay. I have two neighborhood shapes within that overlay. Alright. And just while we're here, to edit, if I want to add another shape to it, so when I come back here, and I'll just show you, when I click on my map overlays, the menu comes up, you select the overlay that you'd like to edit, and you click on Edit, and it will take you into that overlay. From here you can add or subtract or change. I'll click on Edit Overlay again. If you wanted to give it a new name, maybe I wanted to call this one just East Side and take off the Milwaukee. That would be the rename button. It brings it up, or you can give it another name. And I'll click cancel there. If I don't need the overlay anymore, I can click remove. Make sure you select it and then click remove. Keep in mind, if you remove an overlay, it is no longer in use for anything that you would need it for, or it has been used for. And the last, give to someone. If I'd like to give this overlay to another member of my office, I can choose to give to someone, and it will bring up a list. I just type in my office mate's name, it'll bring it up, and I'll click give. This will appear in their account, and you keep your copy. So it gives them a copy, you keep yours. All right, I'll just click cancel. All right, so this is the first of the nice to know modules, which is map overlay. Now I'm going to take you to the second nice to know module, which is map search. So I'm going to show you how to use this overlay. So I'm going to come over here into the menu and click on map search. Okay, so it gives you a list of search templates based on property type that you can use. So what you want to do is select the property type that you want to search on. In this case, I want to search on condominiums. So I'll select condominium. Over here, it shows you the search fields that are available within that quick search. You can always add more fields if you need to. And then I'll click use. So it brings us into our condominium quick search. And then there's our map search over here. So I'm just going to click the little X to close that box. So to load my overlay, I can do it in a couple of ways. I can either use browse here. So when I click browse, it brings up, I can search on municipality, county, state, and then these are my overlays. So I can select my overlay by left clicking it, and then it shows you the neighborhood shapes that you created over here. I can only add them one at a time. So I would have to select Historic Third Ward by double clicking it, and you can see it appears down here. If I zoom down a little bit, which I'm pushing my scroll wheel forward to zoom down, you can see it clearly. Then if I wanted to add that other neighborhood, I browse, Eastside Milwaukee, and then double click the second one, UWM. All right, so when I pull it further, there it is. And here it's telling you the number of condominiums up to this point that's available in those areas. There's 57. Okay? If you wanted to remove one of your neighborhood shapes, notice when you hover over it in the left side quick search summary panel, it'll highlight on the map. So you click the little X that's to the left of the neighborhood shape. The second way of adding an overlay, I'm just going to close this here, is coming here to the overlays button. When you click overlays, and you move down, this is where your created overlays are located underneath the heading My Map Overlays. And there it is, Eastside Milwaukee. So when I left click it, it adds both of those neighborhood shapes at the same time. Now, this is what you do to search on it, because you may not want to search on both of them. You may only want to do one. You left click inside the one that you want to search. So when you left click on it, it brings up the name of the neighborhood, which was UWM in my case, and I click add to search. So when I add it to search, it's letting me know, okay, there's 2 condominiums in that area. If I want to do my 3rd ward, I'll left click in there, left click add to search, it adds it over here. Then there's 57. So right now, there's a total of 57 active condominiums in my neighborhood shapes. This is at the point now where I can start adding in my bedroom. So let's say I'm looking for a minimum of 2, maximum of 3. That'll take me from 57 to 36. Let's say I want to look for at least 1.5 baths. That takes me from 36 to 34. And it goes on and it goes on. Now, if there's a field here that you'd like to add that you don't see, maybe you are looking for a basement, you can click your mouse in this add a field to search and then type in what you're looking for. So I'll type in basement. When I type in basement, it brings my basement choices over here. Okay? So let's say I'd like at least a partial basement. So I'll left click partial. It pops it over here. I have to select it, select both of the check boxes so the system will search. None of these condos have a partial basement. So you kind of see how that works. So whatever that you need to add, you use the add a field to search. To remove this, I can just hit the X at the end of that selection and that deletes it. Okay, so that's the first way that you can use these overlays is underneath map search. I suggest if you're working with a customer that their first priority is location. Let's say they said a condominium in the third ward is #1. Let's see what's there. And I got to be in the third ward. And then the other parameters you can add in as you go. This is an easy way to tell that, when you added the 1.5 bath, it dropped, pretty low, or added a price, it dropped pretty low. Okay. The second way that you can use this overlay is in edit search, and this can be either starting from the contact or starting from a full search. So I'll show you from the contact first. So let's say you currently have a contact that you'd like to add one of these neighborhood shapes into their existing search. So I'm going to select one. Let's see if I can find one that has a search here. Maybe Milwaukee here. That's Kenosha. That's Tosa. Let me try another contact here. Just looking for, okay, well, I'll create one. So I'll add a search. And I'll just put in, let's say I did single family. Didn't mean to do that. I'll return to contact management. I meant to do condominium. All right, there we go. Condo, next. Because I don't think there's a lot of single families down in the third ward. I'll do Milwaukee for my county and Milwaukee for my municipality. And then I'll view my results. This would go the same if you're editing an existing contact search. You'd go into contact management to that contact searches auto email tab and then select the view all link for that search and it'll bring you here to the search results screen. Now to add that overlay, you'd come here to edit search. Once you're here in edit search, if it brings you within full search, you would select right underneath here the map search link. Okay, so it'll bring you to this screen, which looks familiar. Now you can add that overlay again in one of the two ways that I previously showed you. So I'll click my overlays button and I'll select Eastside Milwaukee. Now you won't be able to see it because we're kind of high, so I'm going to zoom down, and I'm doing that by pushing my scroll wheel forward. As you get lower, you can see here those areas are shaded in gray. Over here, when we went browse, they showed up in the colors that you saved to them. But when you use overlays here, it shows them in gray. So now I'll left click inside my neighborhood shape that I'd like. There it is, historic third ward. Add to search. Okay, there's 55 in there. I can view my results. And from here, I can email, I can do a CMA, or I can save this overlay, this neighborhood shape, to my customer's search by clicking Save. Here I am. I give the search a name. I'll just call it Test. My contact is already highlighted because that's the contact that I started off with. And then I can click Save or Save and add an auto email. And this will save. Oops. Let me give it another name. Test is new. There we go. And my search has been saved. So if I go back into contact management to that contact, there's my search. So if I hit view all, and then I come here to the map tab, there's that neighborhood shape. And when you save this neighborhood shape to a customer search, whether they're on a portal or an automatic email, they'll be able to see this. So this way they can kind of help you manage their search. If maybe they're not getting a lot of properties in their desired area, they can say, well, can you move it a little, the border a little bit north, or let's move it out west. They can help you manage it instead of, asking you, well, why am I not getting any properties in my search? This way, based on the area that they told you to define for their search, they can see, well, there's not a lot popping up in that area. Maybe they might want to edit the neighborhood area a little bit. Okay? All right, same thing goes for full search. If you're going through full search and you wanted to search, this time I'll do single family active, do Milwaukee. Let's say I do Milwaukee, and I think we might be hitting a little bit of Shorewood over there by UWM. I'm not totally sure, but I'll try it. Shorewood, and then I'll view my results. Then if I wanted to load that UWM overlay, I can come here to Edit Search, click on Map Search. This is within Edit Search. All right, I'm just going to close that little box there. And I'm going to zoom down a little bit over the general area. Now I'm going to go to Overlays, click on Eastside Milwaukee. I can see it right here. So I'll left click, UWM, add to search. And there we are, we have 28. All right, and you can just view those results. And then from this point, you can do whatever you need to do. Okay, so that was our second nice to know module. The first was the map overlays. It was creating those neighborhood shapes. And then the second was using the overlays underneath the map search and how to use them from the search results screen edit search function. Okay. Now I'm going to show you our third nice to know module, which is the default map. Default map is located underneath preferences, and you see it right here, default map. So I'll click on that. What default map is the default map that you get whenever you do a map search. So if you start off at map search, or when you go into full search and you click on the map search tab, this general area that comes up, this is where this is set at. If you'd like to change that, maybe you're an agent from the Racine, Kenosha area, Sheboygan, Manitowoc, anytime that you find yourself constantly adjusting the map over to the area that you typically search, this is probably where you want to change that. Even if you are an agent within our quote-unquote home area and you typically just work in Waukesha or you just work in Milwaukee, then you can set it to that. So let's say I'm an agent that works in the lake area mainly. So what I'm going to do is I need to adjust my map so I can see clearly the area that I'd like to search over. So I'm going to make my default map this area here that you see me encompassing in my mouse. So now that I can see that area, I'm going to single left click on my square down here at the bottom, and the square is the only one that you'll get. And I'm going to position my mouse over the map in my starting point. Again, I'm not touching the mouse button yet. Now I'm pretending like I have a pencil and I'm about to draw a square. So now that I have my mouse positioned in the corner of one of the corners of the squares, I'm going to single left click and let the mouse button go and pull my mouse diagonally over the area that I need to, or pull it any way that you need to pull it, left, right, up, down. As long as you are making the square over the area that you would like. All right, let's move it down a little bit here. All right, so now I have the area that I want to set as my default map area. To stop the shape, I'm going to double left click. This is now the shape that I have as my default map. So to save it, I'll come up here to the top and I'll left click on the save button. So to demonstrate how that works, I'm just going to go here to full search and go to the map tab and show you now that the lakes area is my default map area. So now I don't have to pull it if I work predominantly in this area. I mean, you can still move it and adjust it the way that you need to, but this will be your default unless you go back and change it. If you decided that you wanted to go back to the original setting, you come back over here underneath preferences and click on default map. And you can click on the reset button. That puts you back over Milwaukee, Waukesha. Okay? So that's our third of the 4 nice to know modules, which is a default map. Lastly that I'm going to show you, I'm just going to close this up here, is the FlexMLS maps, and that's located underneath Maps/Financial. When you open it up, that gives you FlexMLS maps. So I'll left click on this. This map directly doesn't have anything to do with listings. It's a basic map that you can use to locate addresses, but get some of the FlexMLS functions. So let's say in the example that I want to use, I'm going out on a listing appointment and I'm not quite sure where the address is located that the person that I'm going to visit is. So I can come here and locate the address. So I'll enter it in 6818 West Clovernook Street in Milwaukee, WI. And I'll click locate. So now it locates that address on the map using this red push pin. So I can scroll down to get more detail here. I'm just double left clicking my mouse. And I think there we go. Now I'm pushing my scroll wheel forward. So I can see, oh, it's just north of Mill Road. If I wanted to get a bird's eye view of that area, I could click the bird's eye link. That will open me up into a new tab, and I can get an overview of the neighborhood where you see right here, that's the address. So I can kind of get an overhead bird's eye view of the neighborhood. And I'll close the Big Maps tab here. Or I can use the street view. This takes me to Google Maps, and this gives me a street view of the area. So here we're right out in front of the house, so I can see the neighborhood and use the Google tools to navigate. So if I wanted to spin around and look up the street, I see there's a park up there. Kind of get a glance of the neighborhood. So that's the street view using Google Maps. Okay, you can also use the satellite map here if you'd like to. All right, I'm just going to zoom down a little bit. There we go. So you can see it's just down the street from a playground. All right, I'm switched back to my regular map here. So now that I'm looking here at the map, I can see, oh, there's 2 double lots on this block. You can use the Parcel Info tool to kind of get some information before you go out on your appointment. So if you left click on top of this Parcel Info tool and left click on your lot, not only do you get the lot dimensions, but you can see, oh, they've been in flex quite a few times underneath several MLS numbers here. So you see they're currently active right now, and this is the price that they're active at. You also get a link to the tax key record. So if you click that link, it opens you up to the tax record. And you can print this out on the fly using File Print. So this way you can get a little bit of research done on your listing appointment even before you go out. And any of these here, if you click on the links, will open up the data sheet for that listing. Okay, and then you can go next door and take a look at what's going on over there. Okay, they've only been in flex one time, and that was back in '97, sold at $85,000. So this way you can go up and down the neighborhood using this Parcel Info and gathering information on the properties that are in the immediate vicinity of your listing appointment property. Okay? So this is something that it gives you a little bit something. I mean, you could have gone out to this Google and Googled the address, but this way you get a little something extra. So you can get some work done. You can do a little bit of research from this map if you need to. Also, underneath the overlays button, remember that acres overlay that I showed you in the Maps Basic webinar. If you click that, there you go. You can see what their acreage is. Isn't that neat? And then just to turn that tool off, you click on your gloved hand. All right, this will conclude our Maps Advanced webinar. Again, if you need to look at any documentation for this webinar, that's located on our homepage, www.mlswis.com. In the MLS site navigation box, click on Support, and then Flex MLS Manuals. Anything that you see preceded with the words map server pertaining to the map class, and it's in alphabetical order. So what we covered here today was map overlays, map search, default map, and Flex MLS maps. And then we've got a couple of extra ones that gives you the Parcel Info maps, letting you know what counties that Parcel Info tool information was available for, the blue circle with the white eye at the bottom, and then a map screen quick reference guide. This will conclude our tutorial. Thank you very much for your attendance.